Hello everyone, Ben here, and welcome to a continuation of our series on the regions of the United States. And today we're going to be talking about the Mid-Atlantic region, the states comprising of Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and New York, as well as the District of Columbia. I'm going to be counting District of Columbia because it's got to go somewhere. And it's not exactly a southern city. It's got more in common with Maryland than it does Old Dominion. Now, historically, these have all been blue or lean blue states in the case of Pennsylvania. And that's actually something you really will see in common in each of these regions, is they'll have a similar political makeup. For example, the South has been a very conservative region, and this has been a more liberal region. Now, on to the actual statistics. The Mid-Atlantic region has approximately 46.5 million people living within it. It's about half the population of the South, and it actually has approximately half of the GDP at 3.7 million compared to, I think it was like a little over 5 million. What was it? Oh, if we round down, it was about 5 trillion for the South. So it's a little bit over half of the GDP of the South. Which, again, considering they have a little under half of the population, actually a decent amount under half, they're a little overperforming. I may average it all out based off of the region and a few other things, like average the population, average the GDP, and see whether a region overperforms or underperforms based off of their population stuff. Their GDP per capita is $66,000 per year, which is really good. And if they were their own nation, they would rank 5th in terms of GDP. Which I don't need to tell you is pretty darn good. They've got a decent amount of natural resources. They could start up an industrial sector if they really wanted to in northern New York. Not just northern, but upstate New York. Upstate and western. They've got a rural area in Pennsylvania. But the thing they'd probably most be known for is New York City. Though I suspect Philadelphia would be the capital just because it's a more historic city. And Pittsburgh, of course, would be another industrial region. This region would definitely be more urban in identity, and again, like I said, it would be a lot more liberal. I suspect there would be contentions among rural Pennsylvania about that, but it's what it is. The most populous state is, of course, New York, and it also has the largest GDP at 1.4 trillion. So far, Texas still has the largest GDP at 1.6. Pennsylvania has 12 million. It's the second most populous state, and it's got half of the GDP of New York. Delaware is the least productive state. It has a little under 1 million people, and it produces only $70 billion as its gross domestic product, which, again, that's a lot. That's about a similar gross domestic product to West Virginia, if I remember correctly from the last episode. Yep. And I'm not, rounding that much. And it's got a similar population. It's got a little fewer, and I think that difference allows West Virginia to have 5 electoral votes to Delaware's 3. But, this region is definitely a productive region. But as you're going to see, all these regions work better together, interestingly enough. Because they all balance each other out. Another interesting thing, this is the only region to be comprised entirely of colonies back from when America was a colony of Britain. And I'll talk about the New England region because it's a little different. It's a little weird. But yeah, so that's the Mid-Atlantic region. Climate-wise, it's a little bit cooler than the South and a little bit warmer than New England, somewhere in between the two. And it's about half as it's a little bit over half as productive as the South, with a little bit under half the population. So it's kind of right where it should be. It's a little overproducing, at least from what we've seen so far. But it's definitely more liberal and urban compared to the South's more conservative and rural. So it's an interesting interplay. And this region also has one swing state, whereas the South had 2 traditional and 1 becoming. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Hope you had enjoyed, and I'll see you next time when we cover the New England states. And that'll be in 2 or 3 days, depending on when I get around to it. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Bye.